everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Monster Report. We have another exciting top 10 episode with my friend Jonathan Crocetti, and he's joining me via Skype from Lexington, right? Lexington,
yes,
Kentucky. Yes. So good to have you, Jonathan. How are things going?
Good, Nick. Weather's starting to brighten up, so it's time to get back outside and start getting back into shape. I have been sitting at home watching too much Netflix and drinking too much beer, so I'm ready to get my butt up and get back into shape.
All right, awesome. And so, yeah, in this time, we don't have cons, we don't have anything, but I met Jonathan at was it Days of the Dead in Indianapolis?
Yes, sir.
Yes, with Haruo Nakajima, his last con, unfortunately, and before his passing, and we had an interview with Tsutomu Kitagawa, and that was a great con. So I got to meet Jonathan there, and I think after that we talked a little at G-Fest too, didn't we?
Because we met through Matt Parmley.
That's right. Yeah, Kaiju Transmissions, our collab that we did with that con there. So I saw that you were into photography, and you also got my audio, I think, for the Nakajima panel that was there, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, and so I always wanted to have Jonathan on the show, and at the end of this episode, we're going to do a top 10 of his picks. But before we get that, I also know that Jonathan works on mods and repaints, and I've seen some of his work out there. So if somebody's watching and doesn't really quite understand, what the difference is between a modification or a repaint, can you explain and maybe give us some examples?
Yeah, so the core basis of modifications and repaints are taking an original toy and making changes to it, either taking away, let's say a plastic toy, and adding, like, sculpting onto it with an epoxy clay, or taking parts off and then adding new bits. The best way I like to put it to people was when I tell people I'm a toy customizer. This is the best way to put it. I'm Sid from Toy Story. However, I can make a profit off it instead of putting a black cat in it and blowing it up.
I like that. So, okay, so when people might want to have a modification, is it always repair, or is it in some other ways that they're asking you to mod it?
So some of the prior commissions that I've had from past clients, let's take the 2019 King of the Monsters by Jack Pacific. Before Playmates got a hold of it. So I did a slight modification to a 2019 Jax, where instead of the head kind of having that straightforward look, I had him in the swimming position. So I heated up the head, moved it, just changed it a bit, added a little bit of sculpting, had to fix some gaps where I'd cut the plastic, and I repositioned it so when you posed it, it looked like he could be in a swimming pose, and then repainted the entire figure.
Yeah, gotcha. So in some cases, they're wanting just a different kind of feel to the figure, how it sits on the shelf. Right. Does it lose some of its articulation when you do some modification?
It can and it can't. That all depends on the artist and how they choose to sculpt over that toy. I've seen toys that have added articulation, and that's not just through Godzilla or or like monster toys. That's also there's a big action figure collecting, customizing, and there's a big industry out there. So guys, some customizers will add added articulation to their figures. So where there wasn't a wrist articulation, now there is, or where let's say the figure can only look left and right, now it can look up and down. So it's really cool. And if you're really interested, there's all sorts of pages and forums. One particular page that got me into the whole customizing thing was called figurerealm.com, figurerealm.com. And so that's how it got me into customizing. As far as a lot of stuff now goes, I've been doing a lot of repaints. And so as far as repaints go, maybe you have a toy that you're not happy with the original, the manufacturer's paint, the paint up, and you want something different. something that stands out in your collection, or that you can show off to other people or fans. And so you can commission an artist, or you can do it yourself. And you can do anywhere from like adding like a blood splatter to completely repainting the entire figure itself, so it looks completely different.
Wow. Okay, so a lot of the times, if I was a collector, I might just contact you and say, this is what I got. I have an idea, and then communicate with you on what my idea is, and you might bounce ideas back and forth, right?
Right. Like, actually, I am working with Chris Olio and Alex of Seismic Toys. I have some stuff that's under the table I can't talk about, but I am working with them on a couple of one-of paint jobs for some upcoming projects that they have for their company. So I'm really excited to say that. I can't say anything other than that, but I'm really, really stoked, and I got some stuff coming in on the way from them. So
awesome. Well, yeah, I had Seismic and 13 a.m. On a previous episode, and so yeah, I'm excited and very interested in knowing. I don't even know the trade secret, but one day we'll all know, right?
Right. I can't say anything until they give me the go, or until they can release information. So.
All right, you could tell me, but you'd have to kill me later, right?
We could discuss that after the show.
No. I'll be spoiler free. How about that? I'm glad to do that. So that's cool. So people can contact you about ideas for mods or repaints, and obviously they would maybe ship it to you, and then right. Or I would say they could see you at a con, but we don't have any these days. And,
yeah, and a lot of my friends, you don't like. There's a handful of guys that live in the bluegrass state, and there's a couple of guys that live in the Cincinnati area. But it's like when you got everybody that live like all around the country or even around the world, it's really hard. So somebody's like, hey, I want to, oh shoot, shipping's like $80. I'm like, well, I mean, because that's a big thing too. Is a lot of it's the price, and I'm not, I'm one of quite a handful of guys out there in the customizing industry, and especially I'm probably about, and as well as the Godzilla industry as well, as far as the repaints and paint and paint ups and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm someone that's still learning, so I'm quite a ways behind some of the better, more known and respected guys, but it's all about practice. So.
Sure. And I'll make sure that we plug you at the end, but go ahead and let us know best way to contact you and maybe see some of the work you've done. So really the best way to get to me is through a lot of the Godzilla groups. It's just Jonathan Crocetti. That's JONATHAN CROCETTI. You're more than welcome to find me on Facebook. Just shoot me a message. And then I have an Instagram page that's more for my photography. But I also I occasionally will post toys and stuff like that from time to time that I do, and that's the Cronest THE_CRONEST. All right, and I'll make sure it's on the screen when we cut this together for everyone to see. So yeah, Instagram and Facebook, and check out some of the commissions you've done and see what you like, and then sometimes I think when people see the work, they get ideas sparked, and they're like, I want something like that, but here's maybe another idea. So that's very cool to see that you do that, and it's not just out of the box. Sometimes the figures out of the box are great, and sometimes it's like, I got one little criticism about that. Can you help me out? And maybe right. You can contact one of you guys to do that. So as far as the mods or repaints, do you kind of stick with just kaiju, or do you expand into other areas?
So I actually started out with Marvel and Walking Dead figures, really? and worked my way into kaiju. It actually started in high school through an action figure trade, and then I was an assistant in a class, and the teacher that I was helping out with his class, we were just shooting the breeze about action figures. He's like, have you ever considered customizing toys? I'm like, no, who would ever do that? And he sent me to Figaro, which is the site that I previously mentioned, and it just kind of, boom, brand new. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that people could do this. And then there were eBay links, and I was like, holy cow, people can make money off this. Oh, I got to get out of this. And so it started out with at Marvel, and then when Walking Dead had just started, because I just started in 2011, 2012, maybe a year or two, because Walking Dead started in 11. So 12, 13, kind of like right when I started college in fall of 2013 was when I really started customizing. And so I got into Walking Dead, and I made quite a bit of money off that. And then from there, just kept doing other random things, and then finally started getting into like Jurassic Park, and I only recently, within the last 4 years, started doing Godzilla.
Okay.
But I was also I'm 26, so I'm still a very naive collector. So I didn't know about, but I also wasn't aware of the whole like Marmot scene, Bullmark Marathon, like the high-end paint, like the high-end paint-ups, but also the stuff that's not non-suit accurate as compared to Bandai. So when I found out, I was like, oh, there are guys that make lots of money off of repainting Godzilla figures. I'm gonna try that out. But and then as far as painting up like Sofubi figures, that's been like the last year and a half. Because I am so terrified about ruining like an $80 to $100+ vinyl figure, that I was like, if I screw this up,
yeah,
don't be stupid. So, but I'm getting into it, and I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable. And so it's just about like, it's your comfort zone. So I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is your comfort zone, and then just like practice. So
yeah, and there's things about the genre you came from, like you said, the Marvel, the Walking Dead, how very different, when you get into kaiju, and how the angles must be, altogether different. Yeah.
Well, and also, as far as learning how, because I used to be a hand painter, and now with a lot of my projects now I airbrush, and I love using the airbrush because it's kind of a way to cheat, but at the same time, it gets work done faster. And with now probably within the last 10 years, with X Plus and Marmot and M1. All the paint jobs, they're not suit accurate, and they're not screen accurate, and like, people don't tend to really care, and they like colorful and bright. So I don't have to worry about painting up something that looks like Bandai's like a Bandai Godzilla figure from, I don't know, like the 90s. It could be I could take that color scheme and just like throw that out the window and do something completely different, and I love that.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So there's some patience that goes with that to get everything right, it sounds like. But at the same time, the tools of the trade, the airbrush rather than, the brush painting and all that. But it does take a lot of patience. And I think someone who might be thinking about it might need to consider that little thing. If you're an impatient person, this may not be what you want to do.
Yeah. But, it doesn't hurt to try, and that's what I would say to everybody. If you want to try something, do it, and that's what everybody says. Like, if you want to try something, just do it, man.
Yeah, dive right in, right? Yeah.
But watch videos. Do your research first before it's like, I have a question about this, and this, because I talk to a lot of guys. I'm still a beginner, so I message a lot of guys like Alex Murdich and Jake Winowski, James Osborne, and I message all those guys. And if I have a question, I'm like, look, how do I like, what kind of sealant do I use? What kind of paints? And I like getting feedback too. So it never hurts to reach out to other artists, because, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, get some new ideas, and yeah, the details of it is key, is crucial, and everyone's looking at those details every time there's just a small little mistake of the brush stroke or the sculpt. The true Godzilla fans are definitely the ones who are going to pick that out and pick it apart. So I get you on that. And speaking of Kaiju and Godzilla, we're going to get into the top 10 and that you have. Before we get started, I want to know two things, actually. Any non-Godzilla Kaiju films in your top 10? Or do you just stick with Godzilla?
I'm just sticking with Godzilla.
All right. And then tell me... Sure, yeah, and then tell me about how you did rank them. Some people, it's your favorite because it's rewatchability, or is it your favorite because somehow it's nostalgic, or it has, some other value? Tell me how it is you found your top 10.
So, I think it's got to do with childhood. I know for a lot of people it's childhood, and honestly, my first two picks are actually just a year apart, and then really my first three picks have the same bad guy, which is the big golden dragon. But we'll get into that in just a moment. I rank mine mostly through, some of it was childhood, some of it's just like the monsters in it, the design. I think really for me it's the suit designs. Really? Okay. I think it's the suit designs, and I think some of it's nostalgia, but some of it's the suit designs, and some of it's just like the nitty grittiness of the movie, or some actually in my top 10, Destroy All Monsters is one of my picks, and I only got to finally watch that, I think, about 4 years ago, and that movie is part of my top 10 based on the exclusivity and like the elusiveness of that film. Interesting. Because of the hype, and I was like, I have to watch this movie, and I finally got around to it. I was like, did not disappoint.
Right. So, all right. Well, this should be definitely an interesting list. The nostalgia factor and the suit design. That's I get it. Sometimes, yeah, the suit it can make or break it, and sometimes an ugly suit that's out there, it's like, oh, I can't see it, I guess. So yeah, let's start with your number 10 and go up from there. Explain why.
Oh man, so I've got the movie sitting in front of me. My first pick probably would be Godzilla 2000. Okay. Number 10 would probably be Godzilla 2000, and I say this. I watched Godzilla 2000 when I was probably in early middle school. In my neighborhood, we used to have by our Kroger, there used to be a Blockbuster or a Blockbuster movie rental store, and I believe that's where I was also introduced to GameCube's. What was it? Godzilla. Oh yeah. Shoot! What was that game? What was that GameCube game?
There was Unleashed.
Was it? I think it was Destroy All Monsters for
okay,
GameCube.
Destroy All Monsters Melee.
I think that's what it was. Melee. Yeah. I think that's what it was. So I was introduced to that, but like all the Blockbuster stores, but like that's where I finally got to watch Godzilla 2000. And I have the big poster hanging up on my wall up here. That was signed by Tom Kitagawa. You know what's really funny? I didn't even know this until like just last year, but I didn't know that like in the background there is like that's Orga. I had no idea. Okay. So yeah, I guess I didn't think about that either. Totally blew my mind. Like you can see like his eyes back there and then the teeth in the background. And I was like, what? Holy, like I was like, oh man, that's crazy. I didn't even know that was part of the poster. So it's kind of how that thing where like the Cloverfield monsters in the clouds in that movie poster. So, but that's definitely my top 10. That's the 10th. So.
All right. So yeah, 2000's an interesting one because it might be on its face a standalone Godzilla, but he doesn't just fight the military. He does have another monster, Orga, and a unique monster at that to fight. So yeah, and 2000 has a lot of that nostalgia factor too for you. The video store, the ancient, practice of going to the video store and seeing what's there and available to rent. That's all gone now. I miss those days.
I know, I do too. I miss being able to like just like go like walk in that store and just browse the aisles, like, you know, spend like 20 minutes just looking through the aisles, and it was just, oh man, there's so many good memories. Many good memories.
Yeah. All right, next up.
I think my number 9 pick would probably be. I think it would have to be Godzilla vs. Destroya. And I know there's a lot of people that like that cried at the end when Godzilla's dying, and, you know, like the whole like, oh my gosh, it's over, like Godzilla's done, you know. I like that. I like that for the suit. I love that burning Godzilla suit. And I'm not saying that I dislike it to put in number 9. There's other movies that I love so much, and I was just like, you have to be put in number 9 just because I have like such a die-hard nostalgia feel for some of these other movies. I love the look of Destroya. I love that they bring back like the whole oxygen destroyer concept. I think that's really cool because that's like a throwback to the original 1954 Godzilla. Little Godzilla is probably the only, or Godzilla Jr. is like the only smaller Godzilla that's like not hate, like, you know, it's like you like hate mongers cannot get to, you know.
He's not cringy.
Yeah, he's not cringy. He's not cringy. So that's the big thing. But yeah, I'd say 95. Is that right? 94, 95. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my number 9 pick.
And for me, Destroy All Monsters is special because that was one of the only of the Japanese, well, I guess the first of the Japanese Godzillas that I did get to see on the big screen, you know, at the Pickwick, actually. Nice. So before Shin, of course, came out in, you know, a lot of our theaters. But yeah, I didn't get to see too many of the, well, yeah, and up to that point, we only had our American Godzillas. In the big screen anyways. Right. So yeah, getting to see Destroy All Monsters on the big screen, Destroya on the big screen was pretty special for me too. So yeah, it's on my top 10 list.
All right, so my number 8 pick, we talked about Destroya. My next pick is Destroy All Monsters, and for the longest time, I was not able to watch that movie because I believe it was it Redbox or Netflix that used to do, they shipped movies to your door.
The Netflix. Shipped, yeah.
So it was Netflix. Well, they always had it on their site, but I was never able to get it because it was either unavailable or it was always rented out. Right. So it took me years, and I think my 22nd birthday or Christmas? It wasn't that long ago. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. But I got it was either my birthday or Christmas. I got the Destroy All Monsters DVD. I was so excited, and I had this like long building hype, and then I finally watched it. And although the movie is a very fun movie, and like you see all the big monsters together and they fight Ghidorah and Mount Fuji, that fight scene is not very long.
You're right. Yeah, you want it to go on longer.
Yeah, so that fight scene, I was like, I had such a hype, and then I finally watched it, I was like, wow, that was the fight scene? Like, that was really short.
I know. It builds it up. It builds it up really good. Yeah. Yeah,
there's a huge hype, and then it just kind of flatlined for me. But I mean, I still really enjoyed the movie. It's definitely one of my top 10s, and all the monster designs are fantastic. And it's the last time you see Varan and Baragon.
That's true, isn't it? I mean, I guess you see.
It's also the suits as well. Like from what my understanding are, those suits were deteriorating, so it was really the last time that those suits were really usable as well.
Yeah, I guess the last time we see the classic Baragon, we see him in GMK in a different version, but yeah, the classic Heisei Baragon, and Varan definitely, and Varan is like one of my favorites, and I don't know why I don't have an X Plus of Varan yet, but anyways, he's such an underrated, fantastic monster, and to see him, but in Destroy All Monsters, he's always in the background, just kind of, you know. I'm Varan. Hey guys, I'm making my cameo. Right.
I like it. I like that half the fight, most of those monsters are just part of the peanut gallery that are just watching. Like, really? Dude, come on.
Yeah.
Like like they show you destroying, different parts of the world, and then all of a sudden you come to Mount Fuji and you just kind of stand in the background like, hey guys,
Right.
I'm here. I showed up. Like it's like you're required to show up, but you don't have to participate.
At least get a punch in or a kick in or something.
Like, dude, that Gorosaurus kick was awesome. Come on, at least Gorosaurus got in, and Gorosaurus, in my opinion, is also an underrated character in the Godzilla fandom.
Yeah. Now let me ask this about the DVD release you got. Was it the newer Media Blasters one, or was it the old ADV copy, or was it a bootleg?
It's the Tokyo Shock.
Tokyo Shock. I mean, yeah, that's the one I'm thinking, where they've actually remastered it and upgraded it. Done a good print, because I have the old ADV, which has great cover art, but the print is a terrible print, and you may as well be watching the VHS copy. The only upside is that it's actually in widescreen or Toho scope. Ooh. But that's the definitive copy to get. That and the Blu-ray version of it is the fantastic copy to get.
And I've heard that Blu-ray is very expensive and hard to come by, anyways.
Yes, especially if you can get the one with commentary and the additional audio track, dubbing track. I got it before the price went up, and then I realized, wow, okay, just like that Megalon copy, that Megalon copy, yeah.
That copy is so expensive.
I know.
I've cried into my face looking at some of the prices on online, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd known about collecting DVDs and movies a lot sooner, because I'm not willing to pay an arm and a leg for one movie.
Right. The treasure hunt of finding a good value. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But that's just me. It's every collector has their own thing. So
that's right. Destroy All Monsters is an excellent.
It absolutely is. All right. So number seven. Gonna have to go with GMK. So I really like GMK. I think is probably my favorite of the Millennium series. Out of the 6 films. Because 2000 is technically 1999 to 05.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, GMK was a fantastic movie, and I think the suit designs are really, really cool. That might be one that, like, I really think, because I don't know what it is, like, the Godzilla design is just so, I mean, obviously he's like, all these like tormented souls, but it's like his presence is just so eerie and just creepy, and the white pupils, because I don't think there's any other Godzilla that has just stark white pupils. Is that right?
Yes, okay. Right. Yeah.
So, but I really love that design, and then like as King Ghidorah doesn't get a whole lot of love in that film because the stubby necks and all that stuff, but I still enjoy. I like the redesign. I like the whole ancient mythology behind the characters, as well as the whole all the stories behind the film, where the original Guardian monsters were Varan, Baragon, and Anguirus, and then they changed it to Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Baragon. So
yeah.
And then like to see all those, there's what is it, the handful of model kits that are floating around, just so you kind of see like the what was the designs for those characters. And I would love if some sort of fan down the road decided to do their own rendition of what GMK could have been, and that would be really cool.
Yeah, it could be kind of the Destroy All Monsters remake we kind of didn't get, with Godzilla as the antagonist instead of the hero. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and then I have my DVD with me, and I've had it signed. I had it signed at G-Fest with I believe Shinji Higuchi, Hiroyuki Watanabe, and then the director Shusuke Kaneko.
Okay, so, awesome.
That's a DVD I've had for a long time. So I'm very, very happy to. And personally, I'm not a big fan of getting DVDs signed, but it was just one of those things where I was like, well, okay, I'll go ahead and get it. I'm gonna have definitely get it done. So.
Yeah, awesome. I don't have Shinji Higuchi. That would have been a great autograph to get. I was there that year, but I just didn't get to the autograph table, so that was.
I remember that being a very interesting setup, anyway. So.
Really? Okay. Well, that's an awesome copy to get. I've got that same copy, and I was going to say, is that one that was one of the early releases of GMK?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, because it was harder to find, and then now of course we've got the Sony Blu-rays that were coming out, and so we've got the nicer double whatever copies. So very cool. So love GMK. Can't get enough of that one.
All right, so we're on number 7 or 6.
I think we just completed 7, I believe.
Okay, number 6. So my number 6 pick would be what is it? Terror Mecha Godzilla. I really, really, really enjoy that movie. I love I'm a huge Titanosaurus fan. I absolutely love Titanosaurus. I love that design of Godzilla from the 71, 72, from Mechagodzilla, and then Terror of. I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna bring this up in in this episode. I want to know, I want a full-fledged documentary about the different roars and the creation of the roars for each of the kaiju. I love Titanosaurus's roar, and I'm so curious to know how they made that sound.
Okay, well, it might be something to look into. I do remember years back, and I'm going to blank on his name. I will find the name and put it at the bottom of the screen for all the viewers of a year, and I even think I've got it on my YouTube channel. The year Kyle Yunt from Kaiju Cast did his panel, he did have he had a guest on there that was talking about the origins of several of the roars. I don't know if he spoke about Titanosaurus or not, but I know he spoke about several different monsters. So, Jim Fergurski, that was his name. And he was part of that panel, and he talked about the different roars because he was very much a Ifukube expert and music expert of the Godzilla series, the classic Godzilla series, and all that. And that might sound strange, but of course it was Ifukube that came up with the Godzilla roar. So there was probably some working of different instruments to create some of these roars, and I wonder if Titanosaurus. So I guess with that being said, what do you think about the Titanosaurus roar? Is it? Let me just ask you what you think about it before I give my opinion.
I love it. I love that. I love that roar. It's just like that high pitched, when he's getting beat down with missiles, he just shrieks. I love that warble. For me, so it's the way I look at it. It's funny enough that the way I look at it, I'm a big I really like electronic music. So Titanosaurus is essentially the dubstep roar of kaiju.
Okay.
That wobbly roar.
Yeah. Well, if you put it that way, it might not be so bad. To me, I just feel like he could roar a lot less, but that's just my opinion. Don't hate me for it. It's just, to me, it's pretty jarring. I will say it's very alarming.
It
especially,
is.
Yeah.
Oh, no, without a doubt it is.
When you think of those guys in the submarine who were attacked by it, and it's like, it's a giant dinosaur. And it's like, was that one of them on board, or was that the monster?
Oh, no, man. I think I'm gonna be with you there. I think I'd probably pee myself if I heard that roar. Just out of if I was walking somewhere and I just heard that shriek. I think I'd drop everything I had and run for my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one of those ones you whoa, what was that?
And Terror Mecha Godzilla being the last of the Godzilla series directed by Ishiro Honda too. So it's a legendary film in so many ways.
But I'm trying to remember the thing was, I don't remember, did Nakajima play Godzilla was it 72 or was it 73 that Terror came out?
He did not play him in this. I know.
I didn't think he did. Because he did 72 and he didn't do the 73.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I believe he. Well, I believe he retired at Gigan, which wasn't that. Is that 72?
Might have been.
Yeah, but then Mechagodzilla came out the next year, and then 74 Terror of Mechagodzilla. So yeah, I believe he's been retired, and so there was another suit actor for both. Um, well, actually, Megalon, Mechagodzilla, and Terror of Mechagodzilla, another suit actor, which, the Godzilla fans out there are already shouting his name, and I can't remember because he wasn't, Mr. Nakajima or Kitagawa or Satsuma, the ones we know, the big ones.
Right, so I think I think that actor's been a little bit underappreciated, unfortunately.
You're correct. Yeah.
Because we think of the big three, we think of Nakajima, Satsuma, and Kitagawa, and then and it's just like, well, all the other guys. Like I know there's like, Ed Gojitowski talks about him, and there's information about him, but I think most of us, you and I, being pretty big fans that we are, I think unfortunately we're not the die-hard fans. Like for when it comes to those little extra details, so I think we tend to overlook those.
Right. But there's so many details to learn, and there's a lot of things that honestly get in dispute. If you talk to one filmmaker or another filmmaker, sometimes they're different perspectives. They're not even agreeing on things. Right. So there's so much out there. But yes, the different Godzilla suit actor, and I do know, you probably know that fact of occasionally the suit actor in the Titanosaurus occasionally wore it backwards.
What? Really?
Yeah, okay, so that's a new fact. So yeah, he would occasionally wear it backwards to give it such an unnatural arm movement and look to it. So he would actually get in the suit backwards. So a couple of times you actually see his arms behind his back, and that's actually him with his arms in front of his chest. And so when you watch it again, you might see a few shots where his arms look like, how do they bend that way? And so yeah, there's so many cool details.
So it's like
the commentary on that.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. So it's him. So it's another kaiju defying the laws of anatomy.
Yes, of course. Yeah, they don't have to fit in with the rules of science, pseudoscience, anything, because I mean, there's going to be someone who's going to say, yeah, a creature like that couldn't breathe, couldn't eat, couldn't support its own weight, all of these things. But it comes down to it. It's like, they're radioactive, they're nuclear, they're this and that, or they're from space, all of these things that basically make them defy any laws. And it's like, look, overlook that. We want to see them fight.
Like, dude, shut up. It's a kaiju. What do you expect? Like,
that's right.
Like, see, so and then it's like,
go ahead.
It's like, yeah. So if you want to get into an argument with me about that, it's like, yeah, the kaiju. How about you watch Pacific Rim? Watch some of those look at some of those designs and tell me those those follow the laws of anatomy. So.
Right, exactly. So many things, and it's like if you pick it apart too much, you're not going to enjoy it. I want to make sure we're on the right number. So 8 was Destroy All Monsters. 7 was GMK.
Okay. 6 was
Terror.
So we're number 5. So number 5, we're getting down. We are halfway through. So my number 5 pick, and three of these the design of Godzillasaurus. I wish we would get an X Plus figure of that, because
true.
that Bandai figure is not enough. I'm like, look, like, you know, we haven't done Mega Gearus, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. Man, I just want to see an X Plus Godzillasaurus. I mean, that's my big thing. And then the whole, you know, like, and then of course, like, we've got Godzilla. That's actually my favorite Heisei suit design. I love that extended neck, the longer neck with that, like, reeling. He's probably the most menacing in the Heisei series, and that's my opinion. I think that 91's Godzilla is probably the most menacing in the Heisei series, as well as I love Mecha King Ghidorah, and I remember when Wonderfest premiered the photos of the X Plus Mecha King Ghidorah, and that's been a couple years, and we still haven't gotten that stupid figure yet. I am desperate. So Jeremy Souls, if you're watching, please help us get that figure.
He's got a lot of answering to do, right? Yeah.
And he has a lot of answering to do. But the movie overall is fun. I really, really enjoy it. I would like to see it in the Japanese dub with the English subtitles, because I have realized over time I hate English dubs.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the last time I watched it, the dub does not hold up very well. I've got the double feature, so it's not very good. And I've heard the Blu-ray double feature actually has the original Japanese, you know, language with English subtitles. So I'd like to eventually get that down the road. And but yeah, I love the designs. I can't say enough good things about it. And I know people are like, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah is a stupid movie. I'm like, man, you can get out of here. That movie's a fantastic movie, and it's a nostalgic movie, but I love the designs. And again, where is that X Plus Mecha King Ghidorah, and where is my X Plus Godzillasaurus?
And you're right about the dubs too. The watching it in its original Japanese with the subtitles does make it a better movie. I will tell you this, because a lot of the lines are read so hokey and without any kind of spirit or emotion or really sense, honestly, made in it. So, you know, sometimes a 1-to-1 translation doesn't work, and it's refreshing to hear, like, the Tetra dubs and the ones that actually put the the effort into trying to match the lip movements, or at least trying to loop the audio and re-loop the audio essentially into making it make sense for the story, because you can't just take a 1-to-1 language, because it just doesn't work. No. So yeah, if you say something in a certain language and I just translate, even just taking something like Spanish and taking those same words in the grammar in English means something entirely different. And so yeah, watching it in that subtitled version does give you, because there's that terrible dialogue scene between the future humans that land in their UFO, which is their time machine, and then they're having that dialogue with the people of 1991 or 2, whatever, 92, I think, and the conversation is just so like, get on with it. You're so like, they're not making any progress in their conversation. And they're so alarmed by things like, it's a hologram, it's a spaceship, it's a time machine, and all this. So you're from the future? Yes, they said all this. It makes sense, right? So yeah, I mean, if you're blown away by that, you think about, they've just seen an alien spacecraft land, and it wasn't even alien at all. It was humans. So anything's possible at that point. But yeah, watching that, and there's some great cameos, not cameos, I shouldn't say. There's some great veteran Heisei actors in that.
There absolutely are.
Film too, yeah. So that's a great addition, and it's a fun movie, like you said. Capital fun.
I also like that, as far as Toho goes, to kind of make an added comment, I like that a lot of those veteran actors, they continue to make appearances in the just the multiple releases, like you see like so many of the same actors in every movie. So I like to see that they were consistently getting jobs and they were getting paid to do something that they loved. So that's that definitely says something about Toho as a studio and as a company.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's go to number 4. This is where it gets a little bit rough. This is starting to where it gets rough. So my number 4 pick would have to be, I think, it's tough because I like both films. It's between, I think it's gonna be Invasion of the Astro Monster. I think number 4 is gonna be Invasion of the Astro Monster, and that is Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, because Ghidorah has Mothra and Astro is just Godzilla and Rodan, I believe. Right. So Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. I love that movie, and so here's the reason why I love that movie. To put this into context, I am adopted, and my mom's brother is a professor in Taiwan. Well, when I was 2 years old, I believe 2 or 3, my uncle brought over 3 Godzilla movies. Well, 2 Godzilla movies and a Mothra movie. 2 copies of Mothra, 2 Godzilla movies. Ghidorah Three-Headed Monster and Astro Monster, and 2 copies of the original Mothra. And I believe they were either Chinese subtitle or they were Chinese dubbed with Japanese subtitles. But I believe they were Chinese subtitled. Regardless, I didn't care about the story, but when I saw Godzilla and I saw Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra, I saw these giant, like beings on this. I don't even know. It was like a 10x10 TV screen that I had when I was little. Man, that was just so cool, so cool. And that's actually where I got hooked into Godzilla, was through my uncle. So I'd like to thank him for that. But I love the whole, like, the battles are awesome. The story is, like, you don't really pay attention to the story, but, at the same time, you kind of do. I like the whole creation of King Ghidorah's, like, a comet fell from the sky and landed, and then the one night it's like, and then all the everything metal is collected onto the meteorite, and then all of a sudden, it's like it's a huge storm, and then all of a sudden the meteorite explodes, and it's just like, bam, there he is. Instead, because originally when we saw an Astro Monster, he was a threat that was basically attacking Planet X. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then what's kind of cool is really there's not a single time that Ghidorah has it's all of his origins are different. I just realized that all of Ghidorah's origins are completely different every time, from Astro Monster to Ghidorah to 91 to GMK. And even for Final Wars.
Yeah. and even King of the Monsters.
That's true. And as well, and I hate to also say this, Godzilla Planet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I tell you, yeah. Go ahead.
So there are different. It's cool that I realized that I was like, there are different reincarnations of Ghidorah every time.
That's true. And what makes Ghidorah also a great film for the introduction of Ghidorah is his entrance, like you said. That is a great entrance, the way that those flames and that old visual effect, the practical effects, or if it was animation, or however they created that fire effect to create him from the meteor, and that was always one of those things very memorable to see. And they kind of did the same thing when he came out of the jewel, I guess, in Gigan. They still use that same kind of fire.
Oh, that's right, Gigan. That's right. I forgot he was in Gigan.
Yep. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
And Destroy All Monsters. I mean, he's appeared so many times. He's Godzilla's. What I want to say. He's Godzilla's Koopa, he's Godzilla's, whatever you want to call it, is his arch nemesis. He's
the
Magneto.
Greatest foe. Yeah, he's Godzilla's greatest foe, and I think he's probably, if you said who's Godzilla's most memorable villain, I think most people would say King Ghidorah. Yes. Or at least I would hope they would.
And interesting, you use both Ghidorah and Ghidorah, which you're both right. Right. Both of them are right, because it's just in the translation of things. Sometimes I find myself slipping to both of them, but I try to go back to my origins, which was Ghidorah, which is the first time I saw him, and so I try to keep going back to there. And then when I heard more and more films say Ghidorah, I thought maybe that was actually more of the correct, but then I heard the Japanese actors speak it, and it's almost so quick. It's neither. It's like Ghidorah, so it's like, well, I'm not going to say it like that and spit, as I'm saying it. So I just kind of default myself to Ghidorah, I guess, at times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I for those of you who are music fans, I want to throw a bit of trivia. There was actually a hip hop group called King Ghidorah.
Really?
Yes, and they have I believe there's two tracks that they've created. One is called, I believe the track is called entitled Monster Zero. And so in hip hop, a lot of hip hop music, they actually do a lot of sampling from audio bits from Astro Monster, which is really cool.
I have to look that up now.
Yeah, it's really cool, because I heard about that. I found that in high school, and I was like, that's kind of cool. But they're a very kind of niche, obscure hip hop group. So.
All right. So if I had to guess on your number 3, I think I know it. But is it so? Since 4 was Ghidorah, is 3 Astro Monster?
So yes. So I love Astro Monster. From the Godzilla and Rodan and Ghidorah all falling into the water at the end of the movie. To Nick Adams, to the Godzilla Shay,
that's right,
man. And to Miss Namikawa, that movie. That movie is honestly though, if I had to say, not counting the original 54, if I was to talk to any fan like GFast or a show, I'd probably say the most memorable film for me is Astro Monster, and it is the first movie that I ever watched though. So
okay.
It is the very first movie that I watched. Like I said, when I got those VHS copies, it was the first movie that I ever watched. So I love that movie. I love that design. And there have been so many cool figures of that version of Godzilla that have come out over the years, whether it was Bandai, Gigabrain, Gumi, all that stuff is really, really cool. And then I would also like to drop a bit of trivia to any collectors that are watching this episode. So recently, as you all know, there was a bootleg 64. Which 63, 64 that came, the SH Monster Arts bootleg of Ghidorah that came out. Well, we recently headlines broke that SH Monster Arts is going to be releasing an official release of the 1964 Ghidorah.
Really?
Yes. So I am very, very excited. But it also comes down to the question of, are they going to retool the bootleg, which I would like to see, not the crappy, you just kind of slip in wings. I would like to see more of the SH Monster Arts 91 Ghidorah, the way that they did that style. Who knows? It could be a completely brand new sculpt. I'd be fine with either, but I know that I will definitely put my money in when that figure comes out.
Yeah, they don't disappoint, SH Monster Arts. So yeah, that's going to be a good one to get. And you're totally right on Invasion of Astro Monster, or Godzilla versus Cosmic Monster, or Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or not Cosmic Monster, Monster Zero. But yeah, there's so many titles to that film that you're all right. Exactly, same thing with Ghidorah and Ghidorah. You're both right. So yeah, that film, and you've got the legendary Nick Adams, which I did a recreation of the Nick Adams, because I'm Nick Adam, with Kira Takarada doing the thumbs down when they get caught by the Exians, and they thumbs down and then they put their hands behind their head. So I got to recreate that scene with Mr. Takarada at G-Fest as Nick Adams. So that was fun, and Takarada is fantastic in that. All of the actors, Akira Kubo, you just can't go wrong with them, and the fact that it's got some comedy, some suspense, and it's actually not got a lot of kaiju action actually when you really come down to it.
Well, a lot of those movies don't really, but it's like, but here's the thing for me though, when the kaiju action happens, it happens, like it's memorable.
Yes. Yeah. Fantastic film. Good pick for your number 3.
It does. And before we move on to my number 2, I would like to point out for fans of Nick Adams, over the summer of last year, a very, very hardworking group put together what Nick and I loved. We were big fans of this, Kaiju Masterclass. Well, Nick Adams, I believe it's Nick Adams' daughter, was one of the interviewees in one of the panels. So if you guys are huge Nick Adams fans, check out Kaiju Masterclass on YouTube. They have all the videos from last year from all the panels. It was amazing. I don't know if you got to watch it live. I did. I was a fanboy the entire time because they were showing pictures and she's talking about her father and you're just like, oh my gosh, that happened. Like, what? Like, this is something that you will never ever get to. It's like that might be a once in a lifetime experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool to hear those stories about Nick Adams, which he could have had a lot of different. He could have had an interesting career going forward had he lived longer. And that's the tragedy of him. He didn't. He was an underrated actor, and I think it would have been interesting to see him in some more Japanese films too, since he worked so well. With the Japanese, especially not even speaking. I don't think much of the language, if any at all. And yet he and Mr. Takarada and all of them were able to work together without the language, barrier being there. They just they had a respect for each other and the respect for the work that they were doing. And that's what's so tragic about that. But we still have, like you said, those stories. And his daughter to tell those stories, and others, the commentaries in these films and the people who have done the research. The Invasion of Astro Monster commentary on the classic media is also very good too.
I'm sure it is. I hope to eventually get around to watching that, and I'm glad his daughter was finally able to disprove the fact that Nick Adams and Kumi Mizuno were not a thing.
Aha. Okay. Yeah, I didn't actually see that panel,
yes.
But okay. So
yes, she finally confirmed it. She was like, "Nope." And I was like, "Nice, take that, haters." I was like, "Yeah." So that was really cool. All right. So moving on to my number 2 choice. This was actually kind of hard because I had so many other. I love so many of the Godzilla movies. It's Godzilla Final Wars. No, I'm just kidding. It's no. If I said that, anybody would have a heart attack. No. Actually, I really like. Since I talked about Mothra, Godzilla vs. Mothra is actually my number 2.
Okay.
The Mosu Goji design is really, really cool. The amount of love that Mothra has is crazy. It is so insane to see just the amount of love that Mothra's gained through the following over the years, and also it's kind of cool just to see the reincarnations of Mothra, where it's always the giant egg, and then also having before in Ghidorah 300 Monster, Mothra showed up and she was able to talk Rodan and Godzilla into working together to fight Ghidorah. Well, she's the big. The villain, I guess, technically you call the villain against Godzilla. Right. I think it's very hokey for a giant radioactive moth, but man, most of that storyline is fantastic. And I think the movie overall is really, really well done. Personally speaking, I think that probably within the first 10 years of Godzilla, the writing was much much stronger, and then it just and obviously it evolved because Godzilla's for kids, But I think the writing was very, very strong in the story, the filmmaking, the cinematography I really like. And then, just watching all behind the scenes of like how they had Mothra dragging Godzilla, and like some of those spots where it looks like, he's moving like really, really quick. Well, yeah, because, they had they had all these editing problems that they had to fix, and just, the way that the movie was put together, I absolutely love the whole movie in and of itself.
Yeah. And putting it together in that year, 64, yeah. So thinking about the technology they had to work with and how the movement of Mothra looks so good, even when you compare it to newer iterations of Mothra. It is so just refreshing to see a practical effect of both Mothra, the larva form, and full formed butterfly or moth, I guess, whatever you want to call it, form. But yeah, the fully formed Mothra and just the movement of it and the fight between Mothra and Godzilla, and it's like, how is there even a fight? Well, Mothra's always mopped the floor with Godzilla.
Sadly. Like, I'm like, oh man. When a moth can beat a giant radioactive lizard with like dust and webbing.
Yeah.
Oh, Godzilla, you're not number one anymore, buddy. You've never really been. Like,
Godzilla, we gotta have a talk, right?
Yeah, like, son.
Yeah. You can handle GHIDORAH, no problem. Gigan, no problem. The smog monster, no problem. But then when it comes to a giant moth,
dude, that's just sad. And of course, it wouldn't be Mothra without the Shobijin or the Peanuts or the Twin Fairies. All the incarnations or reiterations of those two characters as well.
Yes, and it's right up there on everyone's top 10 list. Mine as well. It's one of those films that you can just watch over and over again. It doesn't get old. Yeah, no, fantastic
absolutely.
Pick. Yeah.
All right, so we are down to number one. There isn't really a drum roll because it's the 1954, the one that started it all. To be perfectly honest with you, Nick, my pick was my lineup was very different, but at the end of the day, 1954 is the one that started it all. It is the movie that has brought together so many people from around the world. It has become a huge pop culture phenomenon in the film and like pop culture in of itself. There are, it spawned so many did sequels, toys, comic books, the movies, fan films, fan art, everything. And obviously we wouldn't have had that if it weren't for Ishiro Honda, Kira Ufukube, and the late Hiro Nakajima, the man, the myth, the legend. I have I believe it is the Criterion Collection.
Excellent.
I love that movie. I think it is very interesting. I love just the whole, like, the box is really cool. The fact that you can open it up and it has like Godzilla, on the inside. Although I will say this. Why is it the Millennium Godzilla and not 54?
I know.
Because they've got this beautiful booklet inside. They've got him underwater when he's dying, and then you open it up. You open it up, and you got like what the heck is this? This is Millennium Godzilla. Like, why is Tokyo SOS Godzilla in my Criterion collection?
Right. Why didn't they ask a Godzilla fan before they approved that one? Don't you think they would have noticed?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, so I actually was very lucky because in Lexington we have an old movie theater called the Kentucky Theater. I was very fortunate enough when I was little, and I don't recall a whole lot, but I did get to see the original 1954 movie in theaters when I was growing up.
Really?
I was very little. I don't remember a whole lot, but I do remember going in, sitting in there, watching it, walking out. That is definitely. I don't remember how old I was, but I definitely remember going in to see it. It's just like, man, it's just, I don't know. I don't really know what to say. The movie is just such an iconic film. the filmmaking techniques, the story behind the entire film, the suit. I love the suit. I love that 54 suit. I mean, if there was one toy I could collect, it would be anything in all of 54.
Okay, yeah.
Just because it's just so iconic, and you really the original 1954 Godzilla movie is the only film that is labeled, I believe, under genre as a horror film.
Interesting, yeah.
I believe that's right. I might be wrong. There might be a couple other films, but I believe that the 54 film is considered a genre horror film.
Okay, well, that would make sense. And when you put King of the Monsters as your number one pick, do you consider it the amalgamation of both the Japanese version and the American with Raymond Burr cut, or do you have a preference either way?
I like the Raymond Burr version, but I haven't seen it nearly as many times as I've seen the original cut. Yeah. I own quite a bit of 54 memorabilia. I've met Nakajima. I was lucky, not lucky. I was very fortunate enough to meet Nakajima twice. The first time I met him was at Fandom Fest, and the second time I met him was when I met you.
Yeah.
So honestly, it was a very nice way of getting to say goodbye to someone that lived a very full life. If we can talk about Nakajima for a minute, I was very fortunate enough to go to Fandom Fest because it was my dad's fault for telling me about Stan Lee was going to be there, and then he's like, oh yeah, and like there's like these guys that like played Godzilla, so. I believe I spent over $1,300 at that show alone. I spent my summer savings at that show.
Wow.
But it was well worth it. Being a big fan, I've got some tattoos up here. I've actually got Nakajima, Nishikawa's 54 with Nakajima's signature that he actually signed on the M1 Haru figure. So. Nice. So that is my personal signature. I remember the day. I remember because they had a dinner and I went there and I got to I was so emotional. I was the first and only time I've ever cried meeting someone in film, like in the film, like the whole film industry.
Interesting. Well,
it was very emotional.
And that what's so cool about when we were at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis was the fact that of all the other horror celebrities that were there, Mr. Nakajima's line was out the door.
I recall, I saw the photos on Facebook. I remember Jim, at the time, his agent was posting photos of like, yeah, there's this line that just goes right out the door. And I was like, because we went Sunday, and I was like, holy crap, that is a big line.
Yeah, and not to diminish the work of the other, horror film, celebrities that were there. They were great. But, as far as who brings in the fandom is this frail, in his 80s-year-old man who's not even speaking English at this con. But the fact is he has left such a legacy and made such an impact on so many lives that is why you got to see that happen, that effect happen. So, I can only hope that the man felt blessed in a way to know that he had touched so many lives. And, we had a nice little send-off there when we got to meet him and had a translator there to say how much we appreciated him and all that. So, but yeah, and such a sweet old man and, one of the hardest working, probably Toho, stuntmen / actors, suit actors that you'll have out there who worked that Godzilla suit and and found the magic, and they even Guillermo del Toro had what was known as the Nakajima effect. So follow the Nakajima effect when you're thinking of these giant monsters. So yes, excellent. And to see 54 film, the Japanese version, and how the serious tone it took, makes it one of everyone's top 10. If you're a Godzilla fan, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah, excellent time speaking with you, Jonathan, and having you on the show and sharing with us your top 10. I know that everyone out there's probably got, their top 10, and I want to, reach out and see if anyone else wants to share their top 10, but a lot of yours are probably on their list as well, and there's reasons why, and I'm just curious to hear why people put ones, and I'm surprised a lot at some of the top 10 lists that I've heard from people. So we're going to keep this series going on. And for Jonathan, I encourage everyone to check him out on Facebook. And was it Instagram that you also use?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Check out your paints, your repaints, and your mods. And if they have an idea, to reach out to him. And we'll put your information at the bottom of the screen here so people can reach out to you and maybe get a commission or two this way. So that'd be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nick, for having me on.
Thank you. And I'm going to give you the last word.
And I'm gonna do what everybody does. Oh no! It's Gojira!